you mentioned Kanye and you mentioned the Watch the Throne experience. I think that's what you were referring to. And I'm wondering if you might be able to go a little bit more in detail in sort of remembering being in that room. Do you remember in detail like what was going on and kind of like how these little micro decisions resulted in the da 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 da,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So it's a great question because like sensory overload was definitely because you're like it's probably like the day Kobe was on the court with Jordan, and Jordan was probably like, "Yo, what's up, Kobe?" And it's like, "What? I'm on the same court with Kobe Bryant."
Yeah.
Um, so what led up to so we I had gotten word that like, yo, Jay and Kanye is working on this album. I had already done Man Down. So it's kind of like, things were starting to work, you know what I mean? And then I'll never so I remember spending 6 weeks listening to Queen because I was like, man, Jay-Z and Kanye West are on the same stage. This is like a monumental moment, and you have to create something that will stand the time forever. Like you get one shot to do Watch the Throne, right? So I sat down and just was like, yo, I just imagined like 150,000 people watching Jay and Kanye come on stage and what that probably sounds like or looks like. And so at the time, one of my best friends, David Melhado, I'm like, yo, Dave, I need you to download every Queen album ever, right? And he's like, for what? And I was just doing research. So for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'm just listening to Queen. I wanted to set the stage because to me, that's like, it's Jay-Z and Kanye West. Like they're the pillars of pop culture at the moment. And so I have, producer friends who got the call about Jay and Kanye, and they're making like 10 beats a day. And I'm going to the studio and I'm just like listening to music. That's like literally all I'm doing is just listening to music. And so, 3 days go by and now they're like at 40 beats or whatever, right? And I remember my manager at the time was like, yo, you haven't sent any beats. Are you even taking this seriously? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just doing research. And I'll never forget the day when I called Dave and I was like, yo, I think I'm ready. Have Verse go to the studio. And so I go and I was listening to this song called In the Lap of Gods by Queen. And I remember listening to it and I was like, this sounds like the stage where it'll be the first song or the second song that they perform. Because I'm a very visual person. If I'm not able to see it, it's hard for me to kind of like execute it. So I have to like really see it. And when I close my eyes, it's very like it's so vivid. And I go to the studio, I hear In the Lap of Gods, I go to the studio, I chop it up, and uh Verse Simmons, he's like he hears it and I'm just like getting it kind of close so he can, because he's such a fast writer, I just need to get it to a place where he can just do it and then I could get out of the way. And he goes on there and he does the hook, and then I'm like, yo, if they don't like this, I'm not working on anything else. So I literally spent 6 weeks working on 45 seconds, because I was like, yo, if they don't like it after 45 seconds, then I'm not going to work on this album. So I send it. I sent it to Boo, who is the he's working on the project. He was one of the A&Rs on the project, and he flipped out. And then they were in Paris at the time, and then I got a call like they flipped out over it. So I was like, okay, I guess I should finish the beat then, right? And so um, So I'll never forget. I was in the movie theater with my mom, and I get a call like, "Yo, Jay, Kanye, they want you in New York." And literally, we just sat down to watch the movie. Like we literally had just sat down, and I get the text, and I tell mom's like, "Yo, we gotta go." And I fly up to New York, um, get to the Mercer, and I meet Ye for the first time, and it's crazy because like it's Ye, it's Mike Dean, and I'm like, yo, these guys are like the architects of some of the most important moments in music, and that's when he plays me Lift Off, and they just play me ideas, and I'm like, this is like insane to me. It's not even real. Um, and and so I meet him. He's like, "Yo, man, like I just think you're dope." And once you hear that from like like Michael Jordan level,
Yeah.
it's hard for anybody to tell you anything after that because it's like, yo, Mike told Kobe I'm dope, or Mike told
Yeah.
Allen Iverson or whoever it is that he's dope. But I'll never forget when they were just, yeah. I mean, I remember they were playing songs from the album, and they're like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "I think it sounds amazing." And but he was like, "Yo, uh, our goal is to like dig deeper, and whatever you think would be of added value, yo, let's try it." And so I remember I went to another room, and Jay comes in, and like Jay introduces himself. He's like, "Yo," and he just makes sure everyone's good, and then we go back, and so now we're listening to everything again. It was the first time that I heard what they kind of embellished on Who Gonna Stop Me. And I was like, this is like many, and so it's definitely a core memory of mine.
You mentioned the album Yeezus as well, and I would describe that whole project being very experimental and boundary pushing. When I first heard it, I didn't actually know how to react to it at first, but then the more you delve deeper into it as a listener, you're like, man, this is groundbreaking. I think, yeah, like Mike Dean and I think even Rick Rubin had a hand in working on that project as well. When they approached you, was that sort of like the cue, like just search for something new and different?
It was so I don't know if you recall, then during that time everyone would have like everyone would uh call like Kanye expressing himself passionately as a rant. um it's that meeting point where he felt like he was hitting a wall, and it was the natural expression is you want to break something, so it's very disruptive. So when when I landed in Paris, and you hear what the kind of like the early sketches of ideas, it was disruption. It was like, yo, like we need to like make it as disruptive as possible. um, for me, it was natural because, like I had expressed earlier, my entire world was me trying to navigate and break through whatever it is. So, disruption to me, I was just very familiar with it. I hadn't really had many opportunities to like sit in it and explore it, because in pop music you don't really want to disrupt, you want to make it as accessible as possible. But I've always felt like, the more you make disruption accessible, the more like innovation happens. Like if you think about what's been some of the most important discoveries in just mankind, like the Wright brothers trying to put a plane in the sky is the most disruptive thought at the time, because it's like you're a human and you're trying to fly like a bird. Like that sounds crazy, right? Until it happens, and now travel. flying on a plane is the most common. You don't even think about it.
It's obvious.
So yeah, it's so obvious, right? And so, when I heard the album, I was like, oh, we're gonna break everything. So like, let's distort things to the max. Let's destroy the audio. Let's figure out ways to like, be as like sharp and disruptive as possible. And so I was like, oh, bet, because I've been just waiting. I just want to do that all the time anyway, and
Yeah.
so for me, it was like, yeah, this is, yes, let's go.